Feeling a little unsettled and stressed with the way things are in our world? Experience the peace of Jesus with Finding Peace, our 5-day devotional. Visit purposely.com to sign up. Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
To know Barb Roose is to love her. I am Julie Lyles Carr, your host for the AllMomDoes podcast. We are in a summer series that we're calling Summer 25 Simplify Series. And the whole goal, the whole purpose is to take a look at the wisdom, the ideas, the tips, the tricks for creating more peace in your life so that when we head into those busy months in the fall, hopefully you will feel more equipped to head in with a clear head and maybe an organized pantry or so. Wouldn't that be amazing? Barb Roose talks to us today as part of the series about how to win the battle of overwhelm. Because let's face it, no matter how well we might get the house organized, no matter how much we might intend to do, no matter how well tabulated and color coordinated our to-do lists are, if we are still carrying around a sense of being overwhelmed in our hearts, well, that's not really peace, is it? Barb has so much insight, so many great ideas about how to do battle when it comes to overwhelm, when overwhelm just feels like it's coming at you, how to be stronger than the stress that is part of our daily lives. And so I am excited for you to hear from Barb in this Summer 25 Simplify series. Barb, thanks so much for being with me today.
Oh, Julie, this is a treasure for me just found treasure being able to be with you and everyone. Thank you.
I just keep a pen handy whenever we're together because I just know there are going to be some things that I need to write down and put Barb Roose because you have just spoken some incredible truth and insight into my life. And I just love you dearly, friend. I'm so excited for the listener to get to hear you today.
Oh, this is going to be a great conversation just because we have a chance to talk about what God is doing in a place where life can be hard for all of us. So thank you for giving us a chance to have this chat.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Give the listener the thumbnail, the little elevator pitch on who you are, where you live, what you do.
Well, the elevator pitches. I am a speaker and author. I love helping women look beautifully strong and courageous in spite of life's fears, because I believe that God has a great adventure of faith and purpose for every single one of our lives. So I am in the Northwest Ohio area. I am the proud empty nest. Let me say it one more time. Empty nest. Mother of 3, 2 adults who are married, 1 who lives the floor below me.
Okay. But floor below, I mean, that is still empty nest, girl.
It is still empty nest, but literally lives the floor below me. Can probably hear me right now saying that in this interview.
I kind of like that setup. That's sort of like the whole family compound setup that some people are exploring. I mean, not exactly in the same house, but close.
It works for us. We live in this building where we live is part of our family story, but there's 8 apartments, and she is a NICU nurse off on her own, saving babies. But when she was finishing up college, she just sent a text one day and said, "Mom, I leased an apartment in your building." And so we really, it's kind of just a helpful thing.
Yeah.
She has her own life. I have my own life, but she literally lives the apartment below me.
That's awesome. Neighbors, mother-daughter neighbors. That's so cool.
Every now and then there's a Snapchat she'll send her siblings when I apparently make too much noise when I'm working.
Okay. All right. Calling you out on the dance party. I got it. I hear you. That's so amazing. Well, Barb, you have done a deep dive for years into the areas where women can feel a lot of challenge. You have had your own personal experiences. You've pastored for a long time. You have seen a lot when it comes to the things that we grapple with. And as a result of a lot of these circumstances, either circumstances that are actually happening or things we are worried that could happen, we all experience a little something called stress. You've been taking a deep dive into this world of stress. How do you define it? How do you put words to what that feeling is?
It's interesting you would ask because there are lots of different ways that folks have defined stress. But here's my working definition. It is our internal response to what is happening externally around us. That means that stress can be good or bad. It is actually a protective measure that God created within our bodies. So it is an internal response, our internal response to what's happening externally around us.
Excellent. That really is helpful because I think sometimes we can confuse a little jolt of adrenaline we need or a time of high anxiety, but not completely understand the distinction. So that's really, really helpful. I know how stress can show up for me, and sometimes it doesn't actually feel sort of that heart pounding thing. One of the primary things that I'll begin to notice is I will find it more necessary than not to carry around my emotional support bag of peanut M&Ms. That's usually the first thing that shows up for me. Like, I might be getting a little stressed. I finally started learning to pay attention to that signal. How does stress show up for you? When do you, Barb Roose, you amazing thing you, when for you can you go, I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to see the symptoms show up?
So this is a fantastic question because we all exhibit stress differently. So I will explain how mine shows up, but let me give some greater context. All of us are going to choose one of 4 stress responses. We're going to fight, which shows up particularly in women as, for me, control issues, where I'm going to look for solutions. I'm going to obsess about things. There's fight, then there's flight. And that is avoidance. That is trying to escape from it. And escapism can look like binging on Netflix. It can look like going to find some comfort food. Then there is freeze, and freeze is numbing out. It is a protective measure where you try to disappear, you try to disassociate, or the newest is fawn. FAWN, and that's a people-pleasing response. So whatever it is that we're feeling stressed about, we're going to pick one of those 4 lanes. And as I said, mine is fight. So mine, I'm going to say things like, I've got to do something. I've got to fix this. Hurry up. Something's not right. That's what it's going to sound like. And therefore, my adrenaline's going to start pumping. I'm going to start flinging things around and as it seems like that could be productive, what that could end up doing is me running around like a bull in a china shop because I got adrenaline pumping, and all of a sudden I'm starting to break stuff and move too fast.
Yeah. I can see that. I definitely have times, particularly when a lot of the kids were still home, we'd be trying to get out the door on time to get one of them to a physical therapy appointment or a soccer practice or whatever. The chaos I could sometimes create just getting us out the door, chairs knocked over, bags spilled, water bottles crashing, all that kind of stuff. I certainly was responsible for doing some of that kind of thing. I would say in my own case, I do have that fight, but I probably have some flight as, recognized by the emotional support bag of peanut M&Ms, or that escapism, that place of going into that freeze where you just kind of want to I don't know, I can't deal. It is so interesting and unique how each of us has a thumbprint for the way in which stress imprints on our lives and how we begin to express that. Now, how did you manage? Because I think this is kind of interesting. You're writing a book about stress, which I think would create some stress. So talk to me about what that process was like when you are actually creating a project around the topic of stress that's going to have its own stressors, deadlines, edits, all that kind of thing.
Well, that is quite a story in and of itself. I have the stress book, which is Stronger Than Stress. There was also a Bible study. And when I was writing the book, I actually had a 3rd book. So I had a book contract for 3 books that needed to be written in 370 days.
Wow.
Also traveling. And there were also, there was a significant relationship ending. And also I had some adult kid issues. When we're talking about stress, as I mentioned, It's our internal response to external pressure. That means that stress is an indicator. So for us to feel stress when we have, I like to, there's 4 elements that I like to talk about. When we have little control, high anxiety, little time, and then high stress, that's going to be overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are short term facing those situations, we can handle it. Short term, if you get a child who's diagnosed with diabetes, you know what? That's normal. You're going to feel some stress. You're going to feel some stress when you're running late for appointment. That's okay. Our bodies are equipped to do short term stress. The issue is when it is protracted and unattended to for long periods of time. So how I handle short periods of stress there are 5 things that I absolutely have to do every single day. And I know those 5 things help my internal response stay low. So the first is I get a good night's sleep. The second is that I nourish my body well. I eat healthy. The third is I work out 4 to 5 times a week. I engage with God. I center God. And so that looks like either a personal quiet time, prayer time. I just engage with God. And then the 5th is I take 1 day off a week. So those 5 things, and this is really based around the premise of the book, around the spiritual practices to win the battle of overwhelm. I know that when I engage in those 5 things, that my internal response to the stress around me, I will be able to have a healthy internal response. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask you this, because we are talking about these external things that come toward us that create this stress. I feel that I have had seasons where I've been in a state of chronic stress, that one thing after the other seem to pile up, or there is a decision looming that needs to be made, but the timing's not right yet, and I need to stay in a situation that is creating a lot of stress. The other thing that I've noticed too, Barb, is that in the work that I do in writing, there are a lot of things that I need to stay very abreast of current issues, things like that. And so I have several news aggregators, things like that I'm using all the time. However, that algorithm is often just pumping stuff toward me that I can be having a pretty good day and then notice a story. Here it comes, that external pressure, something that I can't really do anything about, and yet it elicits an emotional response to me, and I can find myself into stress again. How do we navigate those places of chronic stress where it's not just the immediate news we've gotten, the project with the looming deadline? It's the places where we sort of are just having to stay and remain for a little bit and do the best we can, but we don't necessarily see a finish line at the moment.
This is where so many of listeners' life is at. When we look at the statistics, they vary across the board, but generally it's going to be 60 to 70% of people feel overwhelmed on a regular basis, and overwhelmed meaning too much to do, not enough time to do it. The 4 horsemen of overwhelm that I have in my book that I talk about, it's when we are over functioning, we're doing too much, we're overthinking, we're unable to find clarity, obsessing, or we're overloaded. That is where most of us are living. The switch that we have to flip is to look and go, how do we manage ourselves in such a way where we recognize that we cannot handle everything? So that when we recognize when we're getting to the edge of overwhelm or we step into overwhelm, what resources do we tap into in that moment? So part of the premise behind this book on spiritual practices is that we are human beings, not human doings. We receive all kinds of training in life. When we're little, we are taught to learn how to walk. We're taught to ride a bike, driver training, job training, but we don't receive spirit training. And spirit training is the discipline that you and I need so that when life spins off of the axis, that we know what to do at that point. Our natural inclination to cope is to live off of caffeine and stress. That's how we get through. The battle is won by getting to that space and going, I am now in a place where I can't handle what's happening to me. What tools do I need in order to do what is healthy, helpful, and holy for myself? So you were mentioning seeing the news update. For me, that trigger is to practice simplicity. And simplicity is looking for that space of contentment, not ignoring what's happening in me, but going, at this moment, I may need to, can I do anything about what I'm seeing in front of me? Am I responsible for what I'm seeing in front of me? Am I accountable? If I am not, then I'm going to need to turn that down, step away from it, and then I'm going to need to refocus. And so each of the spiritual practices I cover in the book offer us the flip side, the healthier side to the way that we respond to stress.
That makes a lot of sense to me, a lot of sense. Specific to women, this word of overfunctioning, I feel like I need a t-shirt with that on it. Maybe that should be some of the book swag, because hashtag overfunctioning, I don't know if it's me being an oldest daughter with 2 baby brothers I always wanted to fix things for, and of course now being the mom of a really large crew. But this overfunctioning thing, where do we know that we've slipped into overfunctioning? Because the line between overfunctioning and, wow, you're such a great mom, you're such a great employee, you're such a great boss, you just get all the things done, you're so productive. How do we distinguish between healthful functioning that may be very high capacity and overfunctioning?
I love that you've asked that question. Can I tell you about my favorite chapter in the book?
Please, please, please.
So the chapter is titled, Get Off the Cross, Honey, Somebody Needs the Wood. It is a line from the 1980-something movie Straight Talk with Dolly Parton.
Wow.
And I'm sharing this because what you've asked is where so many women, including myself, have where we live. And so Dolly Parton plays this radio pop psychologist, Dr. Shirley, and she is not a radio psychologist. And this woman calls in one day, and I mean, this woman is going on and on about how she's trying to help everyone and how she loves everyone so much, and how the woman was distressed and upset and she was feeling put upon. And Dolly just said, get off the cross, honey. Somebody needs the wood. That is where a lot of us we have a hard time admitting it to ourselves. One of the lines that I say in the book is that God has never called us to set ourselves on fire to keep everyone else warm. And while we all have lots of responsibilities, there are for sure things that we are saying yes to, that we are doing it not because we need to, but because we feel like we should, because we have to, whether it's our own personal deficit. So it takes some discernment and some space for us to stop and look at the situations in our lives. And again, where the spiritual practices come in. For me, I was over-functioning during the years when I had a spouse who was involved in alcohol addiction. My family was falling apart, and I was single-handedly trying to hold it together every day. And I had a breakdown, and I realized there is a practice called surrender. And the title of that chapter is a prayer that I learned, and it was, God, I can't, but you can, and I will let you. And that is the prayer for those of us who tend to overfunction. We cannot, but God can help us. We have to let him do it.
The second part of that sentence, that prayer, is so important. I will let you. I think it's easy for us to agree with, I feel like I can't, I know that God can, and we stop there. But being able to utter the words so that our soul can hear us say it, I will let you, God, I will let you, is really a beautiful thing. What a great prayer. Barb, help me with this. We are living in a culture, and I appreciate this about some of the dialogue I hear today. I think it's beautiful, where we are so accepting of the feelings that are coming in. We are talking about, feelings are good. Even the feelings that don't feel good are good. I love that. I'm glad that we're at a place where we are not categorizing feelings in such a way in which people are repressing things or they are pushing things aside, ignoring things, which can become its own form of stress. On the flip side, I have to tell you, if I had simply embraced stress in certain situations, if I had just wallered in it, to borrow a word from one of my grandmothers, I don't know if I ever would have gotten back up. So, how do we acknowledge the feeling, but keep moving in a direction that allows us to engage these spiritual practices? How do we live in that tension of realizing stress can be really bad for us, but it's not bad to feel stress, and at the same time make some kind of forward momentum?
This is where we want to step back and look at two different statements that Jesus makes. The very first is that he says, you're going to have some struggles in this world, like very, very, very clear. And whether you're listening today, whether you would say that you're a person of faith, you're a little curious or far from God, maybe we can all get on board with the fact that we're going to have some struggles. And Jesus says, but I've stepped in and I've overcome the world. There's this hope. So he cast this vision that we are going to have spaces in life where the stress is going to be rough and long seasons. But then at the same time, he also taught, he said, but come to me when you are overwhelmed and exhausted and put upon, and I will give you rest. Meaning that when we're over-functioning, when we're obsessing, when we are overthinking, like all of these things, Jesus is like, you don't have to work that hard. My favorite phrase is from Eugene Peterson when he translated that Jesus' words into a paraphrase. How we live, he says, the unforced rhythms of grace.
It's beautiful.
And what that allows you and I to do is that we can feel all of the feelings. We can be real about our realities. We do not have to pretend that our lives are sunshiny, that social media fakeness. Grace means that there is a deficit, and we need something we can't provide for ourselves. So in my life, when I have had to embrace the heartache, I've had to embrace the hard career changes or unexpected plans. Whenever I've had to do any of those, I also know that there is grace, that God will give me what I cannot do for myself so that I'm never sitting in stressful circumstances on my own. So it is have the feelings, feel them, be real about them, but also recognize that there is a grace that you need so that you don't get stuck in those feelings. Because if you get stuck, it's going to be hard to get back up on your own.
Absolutely. I am fascinated by a word you chose for your subtitle of your book, Stronger Than Stress, 10 Spiritual Practices to Win the Battle of Overwhelm. It's the battle of overwhelm. The thing that I love about that word or that phrase, the battle of overwhelm, is sometimes we think about the hurdle of something, the speed bump of something, the challenge of something. But battle to me means that there is a concerted effort coming against us, coming against potentially our kingdom of peace, our kingdom of feeling whole, our kingdom of feeling calm. And there are specific arrows and weapons and things that are coming against that. How do you see this battle of overwhelm playing out? Who are the players? Who are the good guys, the bad guys? What are the fiery swords and all the things that come in? And what is the battle over? Is the battle for peace? Is the battle for something different? Talk to me about that phrase.
Well, the battle of overwhelm, the battle for me also evokes the idea that this isn't a one and done, that there are always going to be challenging situations in life. And some of the struggles that I think and if I talk specifically to Christian women, is the belief that if we are the very best Christian that we should be, then we'll never be overwhelmed, we'll never be stressed. That's simply not true. You can love Jesus all day long, and there may be points at which life will be overwhelmed. In the book, I used an illustration of spinning plates to give a word picture for overwhelm. We all have a series of spinning plates in our lives. Julie, you've got spinning plates. I have them. I've got different categories of plates. There are little salad plates, and those are all the little to-dos that are spinning in our lives. Go to the dentist, pick up the dry cleaning, get the oil changed. How many little spinning little saucers? And then there are salad plates. Those are the spinning plates of tasks or uncertain situations that you just don't know when they're going to end. My daughter was in a car accident last year. Her car went into the shop. There was a seat belt. It took 7 months for them to find a replacement seat belt for her car. Her car sat fixed with no seat belt. We had no idea. And so that plate just spun while we were shuffling for trying to figure out how she was getting to work and borrowing cars. Then there are dinner plates, and those are our relationship plates that spin. So all of your families, your marriages, your kids, your coworkers, all of those plates. And then we have the platters. And the platters are the emergency crises, these big, huge behemoths. So all of us have these spinning plates, and we spend so much of our time trying to keep the plates spinning. When it comes to winning the battle of overwhelm, part of the battle is recognizing that God can see and handle the plates better than we can. If you see yourself visually in this acre of spinning plates, you're overwhelmed, friend, because you're running from pole to pole to pole, keeping them on, keeping them stable. And God is actually, what he wants us to know is that he actually can take care of the plates, and he wants you and I to take care of ourselves and to let him take care of us. That is the battle, to know that God can take care of the plates and that he wants us to take care of ourselves, and he wants us to let him take care of us.
That sounds like a great battle plan to me. I love the way you describe that. Well, Barb, as always, it's amazing to have you on. I just want to have you on all the time because there are so many more topics I want to pick your brain on, that gorgeous brain of yours. Tell the listener where they can go to find the new book, Stronger Than Stress, 10 Spiritual Practices to Win the Battle of Overwhelm, and all the other great stuff you have going on. Where can they find you on social media, all the things?
Well, I would love for everyone to stop by barbroose.com, my online home. There at barbroose.com is where you can find the information for the Stronger Than Stress book. It's available at all of your favorite retailers, but in the pre-order phase, the audiobook is actually going to be available when you order the book through certain retailers, and so there will be a link there. And if you love Bible studies, there is a Stronger Than Stress 6-week Bible study on spiritual practices. And there is a video series, teaching series that is included with the purchase of the book. So we've got great resources to help you learn that soul training to give God space to take care of you and all of the spinning plates in your life.
Well, Barb, as always, can't thank you enough for stopping by and taking the time. I know you've got a wild, crazy, busy schedule, and yet I'm always just so honored when I have a chance to sit down with you. Thanks so much.
Oh, Julie, thank you for having me, and so glad everyone joined us today.
Absolutely. Friend, thank you so much for being part of our Summer 25 Simplify series, an entire series built on helping you find more peace and simplicity in these summer months so that you feel more equipped, more rested, more ready to go when the fall comes at us, because you know it's coming at us fast. And I want you to check out AllMomDoes, allmomdoes.com on the socials, all the places. You're going to find a community of women who are looking for the same things as you, a stronger relationship with God, an ability to find greater peace, I know that you're going to find great friendships there. Would you do this favor for me? Wherever you found this podcast episode, if it's spoken to you, would you grab the link and send it to a friend? That is one of the best things you can do as a thank you to this incredible production team we have, all the people involved who have such a heart to bring you the kind of information and inspiration that is exactly what you need for your life. It just means the world to us when you share the podcast. And I'll see you next time as we continue our Summer 25 Simplify series.
Thanks for listening. We just wanted to take a minute to let you know that just like you and your family, Purposely is also part of a family, the Krista family of ministries. Krista helps kids and teens learn and grow in their faith at King Schools and Miracle Ranch Camp. And Krista shares Jesus with people in the poorest, most remote places through World Concern. Krista Senior Living is a community of love and care, and Krista Media is a place of hope on the radio. God is changing lives through these 5 ministries, and Krista is on mission to share the good news of Jesus. To learn more, visit Krista.org.